thank you for being here. It has become a nice part of the Thanksgiving week for a lot of us associated with NBA to have this breakfast on Wednesday morning, and I especially appreciate your being here. It's nice to have several generations of NBA families here and seeing a number of fathers and sons, and obviously to recognize the two individuals that we will in a few minutes. So this will be a relatively short program, and I hope something that you enjoy and appreciate. Thought I'd mention that afterwards, if you'd like to go out on the field, the football team is practicing because they are competing for the third year in the state football championship next Thursday, December 1st. So I think those of you interested in football would like to see them. I'll remind you at the end of the breakfast. The first part of the program, I thought I would just bring NBA into focus for you, really through the voices of some students and then an alum. So first, I'm going to ask Joe McMahon, who's a current senior, to come up and make a few comments. Please join me in thanking Joe. They're on vacation, so it was really nice of this guy to show up right before 7 this morning. So give Joe a round of applause.
Hi, my name is Joe McMahon. I am a senior here at NBA, and I was asked this morning to come and share my NBA experience. But I never really thought I would actually have to put into words what my NBA experience has meant to me, because it has really been indescribable. As I took on this task, I reflected on my time on the Hill, and two things stood out to me, which are the wide array of opportunities NBA offers, like clubs, service, travel, sports, and academics, and the brotherhood and friendship that are formed in many of these activities at NBA. So, NBA encourages all students to try different things and find their niche, whether it is art, theater, sports, or debate. So in the 7th grade, I was given the opportunity to come here to NBA. And I decided to try football like almost everyone in the 7th grade. But I was a whopping 85 pounds. I thought I had the tailback position locked up, but I was barely edged out by number 44. So the next thing I tried was wrestling. But I could not gain the strength or flexibility to be competitive. Next on my list was lacrosse, and I was ready this time. I had all the gear. I had the gloves, shoulder pads, even my own helmet. But I lacked the important hand-eye coordination. So, in the 8th grade, I decided to give rowing a try, because my older brother was on the varsity team and he enjoyed it. Well, they actually begged me to come and be a coxswain, who is the smallest person in the boat and that steers the boat and motivates and commands the rowers. Despite the common misconception, they don't actually yell row on every stroke. Well, I soon outgrew that position, but found my place as a rower in the varsity boat. Now, in this program's 8th year, I'm a 5-year letterman and proud captain of the rowing team. My story shows how even one of the smallest kids in the grade can find what they like and what they are successful at. I also took the opportunity to join various clubs, like the Health and Nutrition Club and the Mountain, and I took advantage of the freedom an MBA student receives, and I joined and I helped start the mountain biking club, where we will hopefully be soon riding on Long Mountain. MBA students are given such a wide range of activities we can be involved in. For example, I've been involved in these clubs, and I have been able to compete at both regattas and math competitions at MBA. It always surprises me how diverse everyone's interests and talents are. For instance, our student body president, who is also one of the smartest guys I know, caught a key interception that led to our victory in the game this past Friday night against Innsworth. or our service club president, who records an extraordinary amount of service for our grade, but is also a fantastic pole vaulter. Another opportunity that MBA has given me is the chance to go to a German immersion camp and to spend the last summer in Wiesbaden, Germany, through a Wilson language grant. These two experiences showcase the amazing generosity of MBA and families involved in MBA that make learning experiences outside the classroom, like this exchange program, possible. Through all these opportunities, the special brotherhood shared with the MBA community is forged. This brotherhood transcends age and grade because we are connected through our sports, academics, and clubs. We talk about the special bond often, and we take it for granted. But it is only when someone new to the school points it out we realize it. My new rowing coach from Michigan told me that before he came to MBA, he was told repeatedly about this brotherhood. So he was just like, okay, that's what every school says. But within the first couple weeks of teaching, he realized that this community was unlike any he had seen at a school before. I've made great friendships with many people in my grade, but what I am astounded by has been the friends I have made outside my grade. Spending so much time traveling to regattas, being on the water every day after school, and sweating on the grueling rowing machines during the winter has pushed me closer to so many students that are not in any of my classes and are not my age. I have observed this connection in every other sport and club, also where students share their interests with any other student, regardless of age. In conclusion, because we have these great opportunities, the friendships develop here for a lifetime under this common bond of the MBA experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Almost at every program we have for groups outside the school, alumni, parents, et cetera, and whenever we have assemblies, we often have music. And so I wanted to share some of the school's music with you, so the headmaster singers will come in now and sing Seven Bridges Road. Join me in welcoming them.
Yeah.
Again, special thanks to you guys for getting up this morning on your first day of break. So this is, most of you know, our 150th year. Here's a short film about the 150th year at MBA. Thanks. So I hope you'll enjoy coming out for this 150th year anytime you want to be on this campus. In particular, we will have a big celebration of the school on Saturday, April 29th. You will get lots of information about it electronically and in the mail, but I thought I'd just highlight that day. I've been waiting for this. I'm going to obviously have the honor on behalf of the school and the alumni to recognize both Jimmy Webb and R.A. momentarily, but before I do that, I wanted to take this moment to do something I've been intending to do for a while. Two individuals in the audience have helped the school tremendously in many respects, and in particular, they helped us with some of the building on the campus. It might be interesting for you to know that when we started building here 15, 20 years ago, we made a conscious decision to purchase the property on the south end of the campus at Brighton Road. And we purchased those 15 houses and then incorporated the street into the school. And we knew that it was important for the school to be sensitive to the surrounding neighborhood. And so that was our first step. And then we built the parking garage. And that was also a step, both in terms of sensitivity and community and getting the parking off the streets and actually changing the environment terrifically on that east end of the campus. Then we built the classroom building, the Lowry building. It's, I think, meaningful to me, and I'm sure it is to many of you, that you can go around a lot of campuses in this world, but there are very few buildings on those campuses that are named in honor of a teacher. That building is named, obviously, in honor of Mary Helen Lowry, who taught here for 50 years. And then we built the dining hall with also some classrooms on the second floor, but also a big area about community. So we mirrored the MBA motto of gentleman, scholar, and now our next hope is to build a lot of athletic areas. So to continue that sense of the motto. But I've wanted to thank these two individuals, and Jake Wallace, would you please come down, and Jimmy, would you come up? Both Jake and Jimmy helped us tremendously in this effort, and we had some pictures that were signed by our faculty and staff for them, and I've been waiting to do this, and so I thought I had a captured audience and I could do it and recognize them. Please join me in thanking both of them. Jimmy Webb graduated from MBA in 1966, and he and his wife, Becky, have 3 sons, Jay, Chris, and Charles. They're all with us this morning, and they all graduated from MBA as well. Additionally, his brother Billy, who's here, as well as his nephew Van, and a number of Jimmy's in-laws also graduated from MBA, and thus he has numerous connections with the school, including a whole litany of close friendships from his own days on the Hill. In 2002, Jimmy joined the Montgomery Bell Academy Board of Trustees. Just 3 years later, he was elected chairman of our board and served in that role for 8 years. Jimmy has been a generous friend to MBA, supporting our annual fund, several capital campaigns, the endowment, and designating a gift to the school, an estate gift to the school. Jimmy was at the center of a very significant gift in 2004 when MBA received the Long Mountain property. Jimmy and several others purchased the Overton Retreat property and decided to deed almost 200 acres of that land to Montgomery Bell Academy. Today, that property is a very special part of the school's extended campus. Students, faculty, and staff, parents, and alumni enjoy this pristine mountaintop area as a wonderful retreat from the suburbs of Nashville. Perhaps Jimmy's most distinctive gifts to the school are his unwavering interest in the welfare of its students and the importance of taking care of the young men on this campus in every possible way. He has talked with me and others countless times about the significance of the wellness programs at the school. He is clear in his convictions that one of the greatest parts of our mission is caring for each individual boy through programs like the advisory. Jimmy knows most of our teachers personally. He has taken an interest in our staff and makes certain that the school's foundation is its people. I still marvel at the ways in which Jimmy connects with others. Almost every month he has lunch with a group of his classmates. His greatest pleasure seems to be getting to know other human beings. His long-term relationships with service programs like Sister Cities of Nashville, the Martha O'Brien Center, the Bridge Program, Men of Valor, First Presbyterian Church, the Nashville Zoo, Cheekwood, the YMCA, and many others, signifies his civic-minded spirit and interest in making a difference in our city. Jimmy and his partner Bill Freeman have built a wonderful real estate company, but I know Jimmy is most proud of his family with Becky and his extended family members. I continue to smile in appreciation for the ways in which Jimmy cares for his own mother and siblings and the pride he has in his own children and the deep care he possesses for his friends. Jimmy's service to MBA is indeed distinguished, and we as a school are proud to recognize him with Montgomery Bell Academy's Distinguished Service Award. Please join me in thanking Jimmy Webb.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please be seated. Two things. I called Brad yesterday and I said, Brad, does this mean I've got to say something? And asked him kind of where he would like for me to go with that. And then yesterday evening, I wrote something up which I've torn up, so that was no good. So last night, I've spent most of the night tossing and turning and trying to come up with something that I thought would be brief but helpful. So I really thought I would talk about blessing. We're all so very blessed. My parents sacrificed a lot for my brother and my sister and myself so that we could go to MBA in Harpeth Hall. And their belief that an education was the greatest gift you could give is really powerful. I'm not supposed to be emotional today, but I want to commend all the fathers here. You're blessing your children with a great education. And I want to particularly commend those. 1 in 4 boys are on some sort of financial aid here. And those parents are particularly the ones that struggle to make an education possible for their children. And I hope that all of us will support financial aid in the future here. It's meaningful. But beyond that, the endowment is a meaningful thing because it keeps our tuition at a more affordable level. And the folks I really worry about are the folks that are caught in the middle, that really don't have the capacity. They're really struggling. The mountain looks high, and it looked high to me when my boys started going. I've been blessed to have a business that has flourished, and I've been able to make that. But I want to now talk to the young men who have got the blessing of this education. Take advantage of it. As Joe did a much better job talking about the many opportunities that are here at MBA, and you need to avail yourself of those. I'm not sure I force that upon my children as much as I should have, but it's just a remarkable institution. And those of us, as Ben mentioned, that were here 50 and 60 years ago, Alex, I see sitting out here, others see MBA and just marvel at the progress that's been made. MBA back in those days was a little bit more sink or swim than it is today. And I think it's wonderful what they're doing. One of the things that they've got going is a leadership program. And many of you know, but some of you don't, but there's an intentional program through the 4 years in high school to teach leadership skills. And one of the things I told Brad early on as when I was chairman is we used to be required to give speeches when we were freshmen. And a leader who cannot be on their feet and speak cannot command respect and attention. And so I even though I suffered through the speech deal, and there are great stories I have a great story with Lee Noel I kid him about all the time about his speech, but it really helped us to be on our feet. And that's just one piece of what's going on underneath the surface of MBA to really develop these boys. And of course, education, as we all know, is more than just about book learning. It's all the other important things that gentleman scholar athlete teach us. And so I was blessed. I wanted to mention one other thing about service. When I first came back from the Navy, I had a great boss in Willie Genie, and he allowed me to and encouraged that I do some outside activities. And so I joined, at the time, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, which was a very dynamic group, put on the Clinic Bowl and several other events, and was given some opportunities to lead there, which helped in so many ways to build some skills that I obviously, and we all need to build on. And then I decided to reach out to the YMCA, who was having a capital campaign, and made some asks for them. And in so doing, I met my future business partner, who has been my business partner for 37 years and is one of the best friends I have, and couldn't have picked a better person. And my point there is that service has a lot of rewards, some unintended, but if you reach out to others and take advantage of them, it's amazing what you get back. We're blessed to be in the greatest country in the world. We're blessed to be in one of the most wonderful cities in the world. But I think you'll be surprised to know there are 3,000 charities in this community. And we're a very giving community, but those charities need leaders. They need people willing to be involved. There are needs that we can address, and if we default to the government, we don't know what we're going to get. Sometimes it's good, but there are a lot of unintended consequences. So being involved in this city has its own rewards and will make you feel a better part of it. And I just encourage you to take advantage of that, particularly these young people. And so as I look out here and see my group from the Donut Den that were nice enough to show up, I realize we're soon to be turning over the reins to this next generation. And the future is theirs. It's been a great run for all of us, but we haven't done everything right, and we are looking forward to your fixing all the problems we've created. I want to wish you all a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you again for this wonderful honor, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. I was just telling him that we have an MBA chair there with a plaque on it for him. So thank you, Jimmy, for all you've done and for your friendship to the school and to so many of us. In the summer of 1996, my wife and children and I traveled down to Atlanta to see the USA baseball team compete in the Olympics. That trip was one of the first opportunities I had to meet R.A. Dickey, and it has been a special and meaningful and worthwhile journey on my road to get to know wonderful alumni. Whether I speak with my friends in New York or Toronto, or almost anyone who is an avid baseball fan, they are very aware and proud of R.A. He has led an amazing life over these past 20 or so years. For the past 14 years, R.A. has enjoyed stints with the Texas Rangers, the Seattle Mariners, the Minnesota Twins, the New York Mets, and the Toronto Blue Jays, and now the Braves. In 2012, after finishing with a 20-6 record and an ERA of 2.73, R.A. Dickey was named the Cy Young Award winner as the most outstanding pitcher in the National League. In 2013, he followed that achievement with a Golden Glove Award for his outstanding work in the field. It may be insightful to know more fully about R.A.'s journey, his tough and challenging times, and the ways in which he has learned about himself and the journeys we all face in life. That story meant the most to me in understanding R.A. He wrote beautifully about this journey in his autobiography, Wherever I Wind Up, My Quest for Truth, Authenticity, and the Perfect Knuckleball. The same year he published the autobiography, he was one of the subjects of the documentary Knuckleball. R.A. speaks with authenticity, and his talks are filled with genuineness and thoughtfulness and humanity. It is his love of art and literature that captured the imagination of the New York sports writers. It is his fondness for the written and spoken word, and his ability to unmask his true identity in lectures and conversations that make others realize that there is a distinctiveness and humaneness about R.A. that makes him special among athletes and human beings. NBA has long been proud of him, and I can honestly and confidently hold him up to young men as someone to admire. We are honored this morning to recognize R.A. Dickey as NBA's distinguished alumnus. Please join me in congratulating him.
Thank you. Please sit down. Thank you. Obviously, my publicist didn't get a hold of Brad before this because there were some credentials that were left out that I want to impart to you today. That was that I also hold the record for most home runs given up in modern Major League history. I also hold the record for most wild pitches in a single inning, tying Phil Necro. And I gave up Derek Jeter's very last home run. And that's a very cool story. I was in Yankee Stadium the year of his retirement, and it was in September. It was the last time we were going to face the Yankees. Derek had announced his retirement, and I was 2-0 on him. In the seventh inning of a game, we were winning. I think it was like 4-1. There was nobody on base, and I thought to myself, I'm 2-0. I'm not going to walk Derek Jeter in the last at-bat that I ever have against him. This guy's a legend. You know, how cowardly of me to not challenge him with a fastball. And when I did, there it went. So at least I could walk off the mound with my head held high, even after a home run. That was the only time I think I've walked off the mound with my head high after a home run. But I jest, of course. This place is a very special place to me. And this morning I've been reminded in the faces of so many that it really does take a village to raise a child. When I came over here from East Nashville, I was one of the financial aid students that was over here trying to find their way and getting lost more often than not. And so I encountered a lot of sweet people in my time here. And I'd like to I've never done this publicly, but I got to say, Mike Anderson, Bo Bartholomew, Trent Beatty are some of the guys I've seen today that have reminded me of how valuable relationship is. And I've grown to understand that in my journey. I've explained to you a little bit about some of the pitfalls that I've had in my career. Brad has illuminated some of the adversity that I may have faced in my childhood. But that's all something that we share, right? Like we're all, the common denominator in humanity is that at some point we all face adversity. Some of us maybe more so than others. But I think what it can do, and what baseball for me has done, is provide a vehicle of opportunity for me to do relationship differently than I've ever done it in the past. I came to be a knuckleballer full time in 2005, and I was really scuffling. I was at the end of my rope as a potential major league pitcher. I had cups of coffee in the big leagues with the Rangers, about 2.5 years of service time. And by my own admission, I was very mediocre. And I had a few people love on me very well with the Rangers, and Oral Hershiser, Buck Showalter, and John Hart, who is now the Braves president and chief operating officer, and was a big part of why I'm an Atlanta Brave today. I just signed my contract about 4 days ago, and finally get to come down south after playing a career up north in Seattle, Toronto, New York, Minnesota. So it's a real blessing for me to get to come back down here. But they loved me very well by telling me, you know, what you have to offer right now at the big league level is just not going to cut it. And sometimes you need that hard love. But they also said, we believe you have a lot of intangibles. We know you throw a pretty good knuckleball. Why don't you go down to AAA and try to work it out? And we'll give you the latitude to fail. And that was really a benchmark moment in my life, because I'd never had anybody really tell me that. You know, baseball is a hard sport, maybe the hardest thing to do as a career that there is. And I say that because what other industry can you fail 7 out of 10 times and be a Hall of Famer? You know, right? Could you imagine me going into a Merrill Lynch and saying, here's $1 million. If you lose 700,000 of it, don't worry about it. Here's $1 million more. I mean, that just doesn't work, right? So you can't really put a label on how difficult the game is. And so, you know, the game to me has really been able to push me down a road that hasn't necessarily been easy, but incredibly rewarding. In 2005, I became a full-time knuckleballer, like I said, and my first minor league outing, and this is not hyperbole, Brad, I gave up 10 runs in 4 innings. I walked 6, gave up 2 stolen bases, struck out 1. And so after that date, I remember going back to Ann and saying, honey, it may be time to go do something else. But she said, you know, stick with it. And a lot of people were saying stick with it, and so I did. And I think the lesson there, you know, obviously is one of perseverance, but also I had to have people invest in me. And that's kind of where I want to take my final point with you guys is people in here, people outside of here, myriads of people in my life have made incredible investments and poured into me in a way that's been transforming. And I feel like we all have a responsibility and an opportunity to do that with our own gifts. You know, I'm a baseball player, and I try to do it as well as I can, and I perform a certain function. But that function, it doesn't give me any more value than the ticket taker or the clubhouse attendant or the parking attendant. And so how can I use my gifts to invest in other people in an effort to help them realize their full potential? And that's what was done for me starting here at MBA. And throughout my career, have been countless people that have really poured into me in a way that has helped me become anything that I am now. And I'm still growing. And I think that's the other point, young men, that I'd like to leave with you. You are never at the end of your journey until you're on the other side of eternity. There is always room to grow, always. And if you always have that mentality of being growth-minded, then you're never going to be bored with your life. I mean, I was a Cy Young Award winner in 2012, and people kept saying, so now that you've mastered the knuckleball, what's next? And I keep telling them, there's no mastery to the knuckleball. There's only the journey with it. And such is the case in any endeavor that you choose in life, right? It's so much about identifying the gifts that you have, being honest about what you don't do well, trying to improve upon those things, and then using the things that you do well, leveraging those things in an effort to lift other people up. Now that's hard to do, and it takes a lot of practice. But those are the things that have been taught to me through countless relationships. And you know, I'm up here very humbled because I'm celebrating my 21st year Excuse me. I swallowed a knuckleball this morning. My throat's a little bit messed up. But I've celebrated my 21st year in baseball this year. And my 19th year of marriage, my wife, Ann, and my 4 kids. We had two places that we were going to play this year if we were going to play. It was St. Louis Cardinals or the Atlanta Braves. And I was sharing with Brad or someone earlier about the day after the season was over, it kind of ended poorly for me. We had traded for Francisco Liriano from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was kind of the odd man out in a playoff run, so I didn't get a lot of innings down the stretch in September, and it really, it stuck in my craw, because I was very competitive still am, and I'd played the whole season not knowing if I was going to retire or not, and so I had my foot in both buckets, and it stole some of the joy away from getting the opportunity to enjoy the moment, because I was always answering the question, are you going to retire, are you not going to retire? And so this year, this is my last year. I can make an announcement in this intimate setting, but this is the last year that I'll ever play the game of baseball. And so to be able to play it in Atlanta and get to share it with so many people who have not been able to see me play throughout a 21-year career. There's a brand new park opening up in the corner of 75 and 285, and this is an open invitation for all you guys to come down and experience it with me. What a gift for me to be able to share it with other people. So thanks for having me this morning. Happy Thanksgiving, and go Braves.
Great comments from both Jimmy and R.A. about service and the journey. Just great reminders at Thanksgiving. I'm grateful to both of you, and grateful to all of you for being here this morning. May you have a wonderful few days with your family and great celebrations. Please come down and congratulate Jimmy and R.A. And have a good, and go see the football team if you'd like to see the practice. Thanks again for being at NBA.